Okay, so how do we get the results that we just saw in the last segment? The test results identify the efficient and inefficient zones of the exerciser relative to heart rate. Efficient is defined as your aerobic base, or where you're using high levels of fat, and no less than 50% carb to 50% fat usage. As the body begins to use more and more carbohydrates as intensity increases, this would identify the inefficient zones. The reason the body has to be trained to use fat at higher and higher intensity is because fat usage is highly complex, as it goes through beta oxidation, Krebs cycle, and electron transport system. Fat metabolism takes up to 30 steps to complete. In addition, large amounts of oxygen are needed to metabolize fat. When you are exercising at higher and higher intensity, the muscles demand enormous amounts of oxygen, and they need it faster and faster. The body simply cannot keep up with this demand fast enough to go through all the complex steps of fat metabolism. So it reverts to an easier, more familiar road: carbohydrate usage. Carbohydrate metabolism goes through far less stages. Carbohydrate usage takes less oxygen, so the body defaults to this energy source, so it can keep up the oxygen demands of higher intensity training. This is why the body uses higher levels of fat by ratio than carbohydrate at lower intensity exercise. The lower oxygen demands allows the body time to go through the lengthy, slower process of fat metabolism. If a person trains at too high of an intensity, more than they should, then the energy system will always default to carbohydrate usage because that is all that is ever trained. If you train at too low of an intensity too often, then you never train your body to use fat at higher intensity levels. One expecting to see fat loss who does not train at correct levels to recruit this energy system would be much like a person squeezing a tennis ball with their right hand and wondering why their left hand is not getting any stronger. So what are we going to do, and how are we going to do it? Interval training has been around for decades. The same basic principles to train world-class athletes to run faster times in a 10K race and marathons apply to our objective here. Take a look at the following images. These are just a few of the examples of the many possible workouts to accomplish the changes that we are seeking. By implementing programs that strategically push to higher intensity levels followed by recovery stages, we can effectively train the various energy systems of the body. These programs are based on each person's individual test results. You will notice the colored blocks represent time in a certain zone, and the height corresponds with the correct heart rate. Now these are based on 2-to-1 ratios, meaning 2 minutes in the base zone and 1 minute in the higher zones repeated in many cycles. We can easily modify these to 4 minutes followed by 2 minutes in the next zone and then reduce the amount of cycles. Steady-state training programs will be strategically implemented also. Test participants will be thoroughly educated on the purpose and implementation of their program either by your personal trainer or a Precision Performance staff member. Remember, by challenging the point at which your body becomes inefficient at burning fat, the aerobic base will continue to improve. By training our efficient zones at aerobic base, and then pushing to higher zones and then back again to the base zones, we are effectively placing a hook in our aerobic base and pulling it ever so gradually to higher intensity zones. Interval training allows us to temporarily exceed lactate threshold and then recover. This process can extend anaerobic threshold beyond its previous limits. You will be given 6 to 8 or even 12 weeks of training programs to accomplish this objective. After the allotted time period, a reassessment will be needed to see the results. Once the reassessment was complete, a new training program could be designed.